With that, I think we're going to get started. My name's Ken Dotta. I'm the county conservationist at the Oconto County Land and Water Conservation Department. And I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. Usually we hold these in person, but once COVID started, we couldn't meet in person. So we started doing Zoom, and we'll ask about that a little later, but it's been working great for attendance. So we started this project in 2016. We're doing our land and water resource management plan, and we found out we really don't know a lot about our lakes. So we went and started this program through grant funding through DNR. Wanted to try and do kind of baseline data for the county. And so with it, we do grants through DNR. We take and started with 6 lakes that start a data collection that lasts 2 years that Ryan will talk more about. And then the next year we do 6 more lakes, and it's a 2-year process for each group. So we've been doing this, I said, since 2016. We got 61 lakes we're going to do. I think we got 51 of them, including you, that are now getting into it. So I'm going to show you on our county website. This is where we keep all this data that you can go refer to it over the next 2 years. And from there on out, any of your neighbors or anything that couldn't make it, they can go there and find stuff. We're recording the meeting, so they can go there and watch it if they choose to. But excuse me, I am going to share my screen. Okay, Sarah, can you see that, or Ryan?
Yep, I can see it.
Okay, this is our Oconto County website, and Sarah will actually put the link down in the chat. But you go up to the departments, click on that. Once you get to our home web page, you can scroll down, either click on the right or the left, but look for land and water conservation. Once you click on that, it gets you to our department homepage. And on the left-hand side, you got a series of tabs that you can go into if you want to say. On the right-hand side is my contact information, email. The county waterways and aquatic invasive species on top is the main one that you'll find all the data. If you want to go into our agricultural stuff or wildlife damage, you can go check that out too. But focus on the county waterways. Once you get in here, you got 6 tabs you can go into. The aquatic invasive species, if you want to learn about them. The countywide lake study, and that's the program we're in. That's what we'll go into. But I just wanted to mention our shoreline restoration. We've got information in there on that, that you can go in and look up stuff, plant ID, different things. Below that, we've got funding sources. We actually come out and we'll do evaluations of stuff on your property if you have erosion issues or want rain gardens or stuff like that, that we can actually fund a lot of them projects 70% and whatnot. So you can go under there, look at funding sources, Oconto County Lakes and Waterway Organizations. We got that's our list that we maintain or try to maintain, ever changing. But of all the lake associations, sportsman clubs, Oconto County Aquala, Oconto County Lakes and Waterway Association, their contact information is in under that list. And then the topographic lake maps. Through this study, you'll get a new mapping of your lakes. So we'll go into the countywide lake study. And when you get to this page, you can see there's basically 4 main items. First one is the operation strategy and plan for surface water management and protection. That's our county plan we adopted. So if you're really bored, you can read that. But the next one is the Oconto County All Lakes Summary Draft. That's taken from this study, all the lakes that we've completed so far, and we put the data in there in comparison side by side. So Crooked Lake can go see how they compare to Kelly Lake to whatever, any of the ones that were completed. So that's kind of an interesting document to go look at. Third one is an important one that Bill Moore from UW Extension is going to talk about down the road. Is the Oconto County Lakes project update. That's something we try to do quarterly. Try to do it quarterly, but it'll give you the information and dates on when stuff's going to happen on your lake. It's on our new website. Hopefully by tomorrow, you'll be able to click on that link and get the latest one. It isn't working right now. We are less than a month into this new website. So, and then the bottom one is the individual county lake summary report, surveys, plans, and virtual meetings. So if you click on that, it takes you in and you can see the first one is that all lake summary. You can find it here also, but these are all the lakes that we've worked on so far. And if you just take Anderson Lake on top, for example, You can see their final lake management plan is on there. And then there's also the lake summary. So once we get done with the data collection, you will have a lake summary. And from there, we'll have another meeting. And then you'll go into a draft plan mode. That'll be posted on here. But in the meantime, if you want to go look at some of these other lakes and see what theirs looks like, you'll get an idea of what you're going to be getting in your plan. On the left-hand side here, these three little tabs, the ones in green, if you go down to lake surveys, this is a survey. You can see Crooked Lake on here. That obviously wants Bass and Gilkey, but we encourage everyone to go take that. It's not one per household. It's anybody can take it. It's your opinion of the lake and the lake usage and the issues, good or bad. But that helps us, kind of form the opinion of the lake of what's going on there. So encourage everyone to take that. And then the one down at the bottom is the lake study virtual meeting recording. So any of your neighbors or whatever that couldn't make the meeting and want to actually watch it, they'll be able to go within probably a week. We get it posted on there, but you'll find Crooked Lake on there then. So they can go there and watch the recording. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing. I'm thinking to have Sarah from UW Stevens Point give just a quick information on Zoom and what else we're going to be doing here a little bit, I guess.
Okay. So, if you're not familiar with Zoom, just a couple things. You guys saw the poll question that came out, if you are using a phone or you're dialing in using your phone, you're not going to be able to participate in those, but you can, we will have our email and contact information. So if you're using the phone and you can't, you can either chime in or you can submit questions to us via email. On the bottom right, depends on if you're using a phone or computer, but you should have a little microphone button. That's your mute button. Try to stay muted just during some of the talks today. But if you have questions or concerns at any time, you can chime in. And just let's see, the other one would be you can choose to have your video on or off. And then the chat feature. So there's a little chat bubble. You can open that and you can feel free to put questions, comments, concerns, anything like that in there. And we'll also be putting things like important links and emails and things like that over in that too. So you can refer to that. Besides that, I think that's it.
I just want to add one thing, that if you have poor internet, if you turn your video off, you'll still be able to see us, but we won't be able to see you. But they say that does help if you're getting interruptions or stuff. So just an FYI, I guess.
Yep, that's a good point. So Ken, should I share the poll results?
I think we're gonna let Dale talk first and we'll do it right after Dale.
Yep.
Okay, sure thing.
Hi, everyone. Ken said that I'm Dale Moore. I'm the county agent with the UW Extension Service. And I'm just happy to see everybody here tonight. This is the first meeting with us as being a new lake within this entire umbrella of a study. So it's pretty exciting to have you as a part of that and bring your information in. I think you probably had a number of studies done before through other for-profit agencies, that sort of thing. That's good because that information doesn't get lost. No, I see somebody shaking their head, Dave. But the information, the research will be drummed up, anything that has already been written or collected over the years. So it's pretty exciting to see within a document. What I'd like to do is go through a little bit of the history so that you understand how we got here, because it's not just about your one lake. Many of you might say, well, I'm just an individual, or I have a property on a lake, or I know a couple of people on our lake. We're looking at it, like from the 50,000 foot level. Not only that your lake is there, but we have over 300 lakes within the county. And we were sort of tasked with how are we going to deal with the issues within the county with this tremendous resource. So with the first slide, I'm going to share my screen using Ken as my assistant. Sarah, if you just nod your head if you see it. Okay, great. So the Oconto County Lakes Project Study really started a number of years ago at 2016. It was brought to our attention that we have a lot of a lot of concerns about our waterways. Doesn't matter if you were an agribusiness or if you were a naturalist or if you were somebody that just boated on the weekend sort of thing. Everybody was coming to our departments, Ken's Land and Water, or mine with the extension, and seeing what we could do. Well, when you look at our map here, that's the map of the county. Most people don't know that the county seat, the courthouse, is actually located on the bay in the far eastern part of the county. And we're about about a good 80 miles from the up north, in a sense, the northern lakes area of the county. We only have, out of 31 supervisors at the county, there's only 3 supervisors in the region where the lakes actually exist in large numbers. So when we start to look at that, we could start to see that we don't really have a lot of, let's just say, a lot of eyes on some of the issues that are out there. Of course, we who have property or utilize the water, we see the need for preservation tools, maybe even just research tools to understand what we have and that we don't want to lose it. And we just assume that at the county level that we also have that support. Well, in 2016, we sort of saw that we really didn't have that support. And we were sort of piecemealing up into that point how we were addressing some of the water issues. So when we brought together this this group of folks to help us design a 10-year conservation plan for Ken's department, we were realizing that everybody had the same focus or concern. And that is the big BHAG, the quote on the bottom, the having the healthiest waters in Wisconsin. We asked them if we could design a statement with them and to see if we find that one common denominator. It didn't matter if you just drank the water, you wanted it to be the healthiest in Wisconsin. If you're giving it to your cattle or using it for irrigation or kayaking, you wanted to have a great water resource. So having the healthiest waters in Wisconsin helped us decide that we were able to bring other agencies together, because it wasn't just that we were dealing with a lake or rivers or springs or groundwater. We were dealing with water of all sorts. So Ken and I, when it was just the two of us, we felt some frustration because Ken's got a handful of people in his office. I have myself in the office. So really, we didn't have a lot of resources. We didn't have the revenue income stream at all to take on anything major. So we were deciding it would really be nice to share the wealth by having a lot more hands or oars in the water, if you would say. So really, when we looked at the project or a potential for a project, we wanted to make sure the information just did not stay with us. So we wanted to look at getting that information out to the people, back and forth type of thing, that you could utilize it even if Ken and I weren't here anymore, that information does not die on a shelf. We also wanted to develop some networks. How do we get from the county office to the far northwest into the county, and we get that communication coming back and forth, whether it's water related issues coming from us going forward, pushing it out, or if there's concerns at the lake or the streams or the creeks coming back towards the county. And then, of course, I mentioned already, it would be nice if we could get other outside agencies, especially if they had deep pockets. So when we were looking at developing that base of information I just talked about, we were able to identify the threats because through this process, we were deciding that we wanted to rein in our focus. We have over 300 lakes within the county, hundreds of miles of streams and rivers. But the idea was, let's focus on the most danger, or the lakes that have the most negative impacts that could happen to them. And those would be the ones with public access. Having public access on a waterway also gave us a revenue stream through the DNR, because they would fund such programs as long as it had public access. So we thought, well, it's nice to do research on a pristine lake that has no public access or even private lands around it. But the chances of that being endangered right now are not as critical as if it was like an Anderson Lake, a Moody Lake, a Crooked Lake, having people coming in with their boats and their trailers. So we decided to pare everything down to make it more palatable and a lot easier to focus down to the 60 lakes that have public access. By doing that, we were able then to look at DNR grants, lake protection management, lake management planning, that sort of thing. So we decided that if we could do our study and format it into the DNR requirements of a lake management plan, we would be eligible not only to receive money from the DNR, but then the lake could actually use this plan as a lake management plan going forward, doing a lot of their studies. So we started thinking about, okay, how can we actually bring the revenue source in while we're being able to create a document and a data resource. So long story short, we were able to start to train some of the local volunteers. We have groups and organizations out there that will actually work with volunteers on the lake, like yourselves, if you're interested, getting that information out. And then basically we move on to the many hands. So this is a list of the group that we put together and we started to bring together to say, what are your concerns? What are your capabilities? For instance, when we look at a lake and we decide on 6 lakes to go forward, like your lake right now, we'll ask the DNR, well, when was the last fish study done? When was the last aquatic plant survey done? That sort of thing. If it was just done last year, we might put your lake off for another cycle. But if it gets to their 10-year mark, Chip and Tammy, the fish biologist, might say, hey, we're willing to put on our task list a fish inventory as part of this process. So if we could tie those other agencies together with their timeline, with our timeline, it makes this document so much better and so much more vibrant for us to work with. So by having this group, the many oars in the water, we're able to bring those resources together and make much better use of all the resources that are out there. So about the listening side of it, we just didn't want to have a top-down approach. We wanted to create something where you could come back and actually talk to us. So back in the day, about 2017, 18, the county established a citizen advisory committee. Anybody can be on it. The idea is that it's a standing committee in name only, but it's something the county board acknowledges that it exists and that we will listen to folks coming in. If you got a concern and you don't feel like it's something that just an email can suffice, you can come through the citizen advisory committee, meet with us. We'll sit around a table and we'll hash out a response. Vice versa, if the county is looking at doing something and they want people that are involved in water, we can then push that down through our communication network through this brand new citizen advisory committee. It's been doing wonders over the last few years. It's a great resource. We also we conducted a survey, a scientific survey countywide on people's perception, their perception of quality, concerns with water. And we have that survey and we utilize that to the max to try to get the county board to understand the true value of a lake. And that's just not a water system that the lake owners need to take care of or the property shoreline riparian owners need to take care of, that the county also gets revenue through tourism as well as through tax dollars. And that maybe we could generate more money going to those lakes, based on identification for them through the survey. So anyway, we were able to achieve that. We also created a web page so that you can come and access the data that's been collected already. Ken showed you that we got over 50, almost 100 different documents because you have the summary report and then you're going to end up with the planning report. And then you also have a survey report being done for each lake. So really you got 3 different documents for that lake. So it's a lot of information, but we just don't want to lose it. So through technology in the 21st century, we've been able to create that website that anybody can really get to. And then it's archived there for everybody to see. So let's see, each of you gave us an email, I believe, to get on tonight, and we use that as our communication back and forth. So hopefully, as things progress over the next 2 years, if we need to, or if you want to contact us, we'll have that email. We can push out information to you. So, no problem with changing of address. Just don't change your email address, okay? And we'll still be able to contact you. One of the things I did mention about the CAC and getting revenue source as being a must. Ken's department didn't have the money to do this study all by themselves. My department didn't have the money, but we were able to work through the DNR grant every year to be able to get that money. So the money actually goes for the plan itself, but the CAC was actually able to work with the county to set aside $230,000 in support of additional grants. And these grants would be used for projects that Ken will talk about. Maybe Steve Hireman will talk about tonight as well. But that money is there, and it's called the Healthy Waters Initiative program. That whole program was designed from this water study to give extra seed money for each of the lakes. The one link that Ken was trying to show that said it is not live right now would take you to a document that would look like this. It's an 8-page document. It encapsulates the process that we're going to work on your lake. So unfortunately, it does take 2 years, but that's good news because it has 2 years worth of data coming in. But over that 2-year period, you could forget what we talked about tonight. Your neighbors might want to know more about what's going on tonight. This document talks about each of the goals that we have and then how the team is going to address those goals. Each goal then has the lakes that are completed, listed already, and then also the lakes that have partial data completed for it, and then also the lakes that are standing in the queue waiting. So yours would be appearing as well, waiting for a date to be determined. But this document is updated. We try to keep it up quarterly, maybe 3 times a year if things get a little bit pushed off. But it's a great resource to remind you about contact lists and then how to stay involved. And then what the heck are we working on? Okay, so it's a great document. So it's the one and only thing that you're going to see that has everything packaged for you. Lastly, this slide here, it's from our old website, but I circled, again, the Oconto County project update. That's key. You should be able to go to it anytime you want. Look at the upper corner, and this one, it's in yellow. The February one should be gray. So what you do is you can look at it by date to see if you've got the latest one. Okay, so if you see something that says 2021 on it like that, you don't have the latest one. So just be aware of the date, and the date will change because there's hundreds of these things out there now. Okay. And then lastly, I just want to throw that pitch in again. Our data is only as good as we can get you to participate in. It doesn't matter about fish counts or types of plants, that sort of thing in a document. We want to be able to utilize your skill sets, your decision making, what you're willing to do based on that information to make the lake either better or keeping it in a pristine condition that it may be in. But we want to have that reaction and responses from you. So please take a look at your Crooked Lake survey that's on there, click it, open it up, and then just start checking the boxes, writing comments, and please get it in. I know there's over 21 people on here tonight. I fully expect we should get at least 21 surveys coming back for this report. If not, we've done something wrong, and please let us know about that. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to end with that. I'm going to ask Sarah if you could bring that first question back up, the responses. I think there was at least 2. If you can't, there was 2 people that identified other as a response. And I was wondering if, let's see, yeah, 3 out of 17. So 3 folks said other. I was wondering if you'd be willing to share with us what the others would be for your concerns. I'll just open up to anybody that answered it as other. You might have to hit your unmute button. Let's see.
Oh, shoreline erosion was one.
Okay.
That's a good one. It could go fall into kind of in the shoreline development, but and I guess the reason we have these polls is because part of this, the format of this meeting is we want to hear from you people. Ryan's going to be talking next on the actual data collection and the plan, and it's important to help him, guide him to where to look and stuff for issues that could be on your lake and that. So by all means, please jump in and answer whatever or discuss whatever
Well,
at any time.
I guess I do have a question. My question would be is, what are you guys doing anything different than the Lake District has already done? I mean, it seems like all the data that you're looking for is already out there. We can probably save a lot of money and time if you just go get the Lake District's management plan that was just done.
Well,
And not only that, they did aquatic studies. So we know
Yep.
a ton about our lake. I mean, maybe you guys don't. I don't know if this is just like somebody came up with an idea and say we should research Crooked Lake, but I mean, did you do any research to see what the Lake District has already done over the last decade?
yep, we're going to take all that data and incorporate it. This is just a continuation on of the data you collected. The more data you have, the better.
Well, I
Hopefully
mean,
we go up there and don't
we
find
paid a lot of
issues.
money for that lake study thing. Maybe you guys could reimburse us with the money and just save some time.
Well, that plan's expiring. So
It's not, we just had in our meeting with Ontario on that. So that last district thing was done in 2018, the lake management plan. The last lake aquatic study was done in 2021. They just did a point intercept survey. And then they got another survey coming up in spring. And the lake has been mapped as well with those point intercept surveys.
Yep, no, and that's a good, good point you're making, but that they won't have to do much more because we're going to take that data and your plan's good for 5 years. So 23, end of 23, roughly, it's expiring into 24.
I understand that, but with just working with Ontario, I know we just had a Lake District meeting and they said that management plan based upon what we had just done and everything will be good until with the DNR is fine with it for actually 10 years.
No, that's
Well, this process is also a way for your county partners to be clued in and involved on the process since they are partners as well.
Well, that'd be
Yeah.
good. Maybe they can
They-
show up at one of our meetings.
Dave, we have, I'm familiar with Onterra's plan. We have that, this project is being extended to all lakes in the county with public access. And you guys are that. Now you've been through this process before. You're dealing with some issues. You're working with Onterra. And that's fine. This isn't going to preempt any of that. It's only going to augment that. Again, you're doing periodic PI surveys, you're doing ongoing water monitoring. By the time this comes out in 2025, it will be your updated information. And you will continue to work with Ontario because the scope of this project does not include mechanical harvesting plans or chemical treatments, things like that. So this doesn't interfere with any of that. It just updates and augments the information. This project definitely was not designed specifically for your lake. This project was designed for the county to inventory their lakes as a whole, prioritize them and put them under the umbrella of one State of the Lakes report and fold them into the county's plan. Now you guys have collected a lot of data. That's great. This will only be updating in that. So indeed, you may not get as much value out of this plan as a lake that hasn't been through this before. But this is just a continuation of what you guys are doing. Indeed.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. And I also want to reiterate, maybe I didn't explain it with the whole history. Again, we're at the 50,000 foot level. We're dealing with all 60 lakes. And some counties have tried to do all their lakes within a 2-year period. What a mess that could turn into. People didn't know what was going on. Others had their lake management studies being done privately, and they felt like they were being ripped off. We tried to do it systematically so that we're going 6 lakes at a time. Eventually, your lake would have to come up anyway. So we're not paying extra for any of the information that is static already. But as Ryan said, all the other information we will update, and then it's a primer for us now to then take that information and put it into our operational guide at the county. So in the county, for instance, Ken's office, ours, even at the state or the federal level, if they said, is there a issue with phosphorus? They don't have to look through 60 different management plans at the county. They can look at one document and it will show which lakes have on a chart which ones have issues, which ones don't. So again, it's going to be it's going to be a great resource for us. That's why we're not charging the lake for anything like that, and that's why we were using our own match and our time and getting grant money for this. So again, it's I guess it's my mistake that I didn't say that this is a tool for everybody and not just the one lake or a lake user. So anyway, we're just glad that you're part of the process. We're always willing to listen to what your concerns are, whether it's in the document. If you didn't document it already, we would like to hear it through this process. Hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you.
Anyone else? So I'll just go over, just go over a couple things here. You know, I don't know the variety of folks who on here who are familiar with who went through the study back in 2018. But again, this is a countywide project that involves the development of these lake management plans. 90% of the lakes in this county that we're working with have no baseline information and no management plan, and that's really the onus of this project. You guys are getting you know, an updated some updated information that hopefully you can use going forward, and that'll be how you can use this information. We work with Onterra a lot. We've worked with probably 10, 12 lakes so far that are working with Onterra as part of this process, and we work very synergistically with them. So again, just to revisit the state of the lakes report, which is really puts your lake in perspective with the other lakes in the study, 60 plus lakes in the study. So you know, you may be struggling with nutrient issues or invasive species issues, things like that, and it's just it's general information mainly for the use of various agencies, but to see where your lake lies in the county level, and it can be kind of enlightening to see that you're not alone. Hopefully, it's also a tool for some networking, working together with other groups. There's a lot of groups dealing with exactly what you're dealing with, and there are a lot of resources available, which again is part of the effort of tonight, to introduce you to that this project is going on and then what some of your resources are. Lake management plans are governed under CHIP area R193. So there are a mandatory list of components that go into this management plan. This started back when the state realized how much they were spending on various projects, such as invasive species being the big one, and some other issues, working with a lot of lakes that had tunnel vision, that weren't really understanding a holistic perception of their lake.
Hey, Ryan?
So yes,
Ryan,
sir.
are you going to be sharing your screen on this?
Am I not sharing my screen?
No, you're not. I'm not seeing it. There you go.
Sorry about that. So in our 193 is basically the standard that's being met by these management plans. Certainly Onterra would have had this standard in their 2018 plan, but there's a variety of components that go into it that have to be looked at and updated. You know, we can update the analysis of your watershed, seeing how things may have changed in the watershed over time. You know, the aquatic plant surveys, obviously, when you're doing active management of plants is an ongoing thing. And fisheries data, I'm not sure how closely you've worked with Chip in the past, but he'll be involved with this as well. So it's probably similar to what Onterra did. We will generate an update to your management plan and submit it to you as a draft for something, starting place for you guys to work with, and you know, for your organization to develop consensus on how you want to approve this plan and push it forward. So we're doing it's a 2-year study. There'll be 2 years of monitoring, including an updated aquatic plant, shoreline survey, watershed survey, ongoing, some augmented water quality monitoring. At the end of that 2 years, then we'll meet back together, present conclusions of the study, and work together with you in another series of public meetings, and then some iterative back and forth with draft plans to develop your management plan. And then that plan goes on file, of course, with your local municipality, DNR, things like that. And so this is what keeps your plan up to date and relevant, pertaining to getting grants and making sure you guys are pointed in the right direction. So that's some contact information. I just wanted to continue the discussion for a little bit, and obviously, if anyone has any questions to hear about that, but I understand you have a 2018 plan you're working with, and when I was reviewing those goals, the number one goal was controlling the invasive species. So I'm curious, since 2018, where that lies. I know you've been doing probably some spot treatments, I think, a lot of hand removal. Could anyone update me?
I can update you, Ryan.
Sure.
So since 2018, yeah, we've done some hand pulling and treatments. We've also done some spots some spots as well. But the lake was treated for Eurasian milfoil in 2020, and it really knocked most of it all out. The biggest thing that the Lake District is dealing with now, it's not so much of the aquatic plants, it is the zebra mussels, which have really taken off this year.
No kidding.
Significantly. I mean, we knew we had them, but there was almost nothing, but now they've taken off and they're everywhere.
Okay, interesting. I know a lot of lakes with zebra mussels, but I've not heard many talk about them taking off. So I'm curious to see that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Hey, Dave, what chemical did you guys use for your chemical treatment?
Let me go and look at that. I know it was targeted only for the milfoil and not the native species plants, but I know that we had posted, let me go on our website and see if I can pull it down. I know
Sure.
the DNR monitored it. I know that every hour or 2 hours for about 12 hours, they took lake samples, and it was mostly on the northern side of the lake that was treated, no other parts. It was between the inlet and the outlet.
Yeah, the reason I ask is about 3 lakes this last 2 years now have been using a chemical called Procelicor, and that has really been having great results. And we're trying to make sure that information is getting shared back and forth by the lakes that are dealing with this problem, so that everybody's using potentially the best practice.
Yeah, let me look, Steve, and I can let you know.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, this is Brian Webb. I believe Procelicor was in fact the variety that was used on our lake so effectively.
This is kind of odd. I guess I'd just like to interject here as for example, why we have these meetings and work on these plans on our end of it is some of these projects you're working on are eligible for county funding, and I see you have not applied for a grant yet from the county. So we can help up to $7,000 a year, depending on, your application and whatever, but we can help offset your costs even with DNR grants and that. So I guess just a point I wanted to point out.
I just saw that somebody posted something about the Clean Boats, Clean Water grants, and unfortunately, we are not eligible for the Clean Boats, Clean Water grants anymore. And maybe Brian, you can explain that.
Yes, thanks, Dave. We did apply actually successfully for a Clean Boats, Clean Water grant, but and we had to reach a minimum threshold of 200 volunteer hours in order to be eligible for any reimbursement of funds. And we did meet that threshold 2 years ago, but it turns out that the only reimbursement would be if we were to have spent money and paid people for volunteering, or we would have been reimbursed for any materials, things like marketing materials and t-shirts and things of that nature. But all of our volunteer hours were exactly that, volunteer. We paid no volunteers, nor did we use any materials. So consequently, we did not receive what amounts to any funding. And so we withdrew our grant request.
Yeah, a couple of us found that out the hard way, that you don't get reimbursed unless you pay your inspectors.
Yeah, that's what we found out.
I reinforce what Ken Delata was mentioning though, because I don't know if we had a terminology question here, but the grant program Ken's referring to is the Oconto County Healthy Waters Cost Share Program. That is the program, that $230,000 program that Dale referred to in his opening remarks. And that was created because the Oconto County Lakes and Waterways Association in 2018 really lobbied the Oconto County Board to take that money, which was going to be spent on other matters, and to put that in a fund to support our lake groups and river groups in dealing with water quality problems. So that is a fund that if you applied, say, for your regional water milfoil chemical treatment effort 1 year, and let's just say it was a $25,000 project and the state was going to give you 75% funding, you could also get some funding from that Oconto County Healthy Waters Cost Share Program in addition to the state money, which again helps you not have to take all the rest of that money out of your own pocket. So we created that fund to help lake associations, lake districts, whoever, with their water quality projects. So it's there. And like Ken said, he doesn't see where anybody from Crooked Lake has applied yet. It's been in existence for 4 years now. So it's there for you guys to tap into.
And I guess on our county website where I said that funding sources is, you can go under there and it's Oconto County Healthy Waters, and it's got just a quick little pamphlet on the kind of the policy and then the application, and or you can contact me or Steve or anyone, and we can help you through it if you have stuff you want to apply for.
And I'm still thinking about that Clean Boats time. You guys have other DNR grants as part of the work you're doing? Did you get grants for some of your plant management and stuff?
Well, to my knowledge, we successfully applied for some grants in the development of our lake management plan in 2018.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so it sounds like you feel like you're making progress with the milfoil and perhaps the curly leaf, but zebra mussels are the new thing. Again, you know, the scope of this project is not going to be addressing your aquatic plant management specifically, so you'll continue working with Ontario with that. And just to mention, I usually lakes that I know that are working with a consultant, you know, it definitely will incorporate them in you know, reviewing this draft and stuff. So we'll definitely make sure they're on board. The second goal I read was maintaining water quality, and from the updated information I've seen that's just available online, you know, you don't seem to be struggling with water quality too much. You have some active citizen monitors collecting information that I see. That'll all be incorporated into the update. Any comments on water quality in general?
I feel like it's getting clearer, but I think that's because of the zebra mussels.
That's quite possible, indeed. Okay, yeah, I didn't see, you know, just when I glanced at stuff, you know, things looked generally good in that sense. So we'll probably keep on going with something like that. Capacity building, another goal. Stakeholder surveys, which of course we have available again as part of this project. So there's the online survey that your folks can take, you know, that's just a component of any plan or plan update is another stakeholder survey to see where people are at. So be sure to pass that link around. It's available at that website as well. And then just education, lake property owner education, I see was part of the plan. Have you guys been working on that? Do you guys have an annual meeting, I presume? Okay.
Yes, we have an annual meeting.
It's May
Memorial Day.
27th.
Yeah, we have an annual meeting at Memorial Day weekend, and then we meet quarterly as well as a district.
As a district, okay. Maintaining navigability on the lake was your fourth goal. And at the time, you were going to have a feasibility study done on mechanical harvesting. Have you implemented mechanical harvesting, or what were the results of that?
We implemented Dash several years ago selectively, and largely it was successful, but on the expensive side.
Sure.
And with the success of the Procelicor 2 years ago, that exceeded our expectations. So we were
Okay.
leaning more in that direction. Our last fall survey showed just some isolated small populations of EWM, which I think many people are voluntarily doing some hand harvesting, but not using any scuba.
Okay, so your navigability issues were primarily associated with the invasives.
I would say yes.
Okay. And then improving the fishery was the fifth goal. Educate on shoreline habitat and expand critical woody habitat. So again, you know, an updated shoreline survey, you know, hopefully we can see where maybe you know, we can see some quantitative change there if, you know, depending on what sort of projects have been done. Whenever your latest fish survey is or is coming up, when we meet after this to draft the plan, Chip will be a part of that meeting, and obviously he's the one that's usually is so involved with those tree drops and some things like that. Does anyone have any general comments on the fishery or what's been going on there?
Well, we do have a active sportsman's club that for the last several springs have erected and deposited some fish cribs, even though it's somewhat inconclusive about their effectiveness.
Yeah.
And then we also had some intentional felling of some trees along the shoreline. And I think that has had some modest positive impact, but it's still, I would say, scientifically inconclusive. I don't think we've really seen
The tree
any-
drops. The
Yeah.
tree drops have had very little impact. They were done mostly in a shallow lake and proved to be, in my opinion, as a member of the Sportsman's Club, ineffective. The Sportsman's Club, I think, is at about 40 to 50 cribs planted with a goal of 80. And that is working in conjunction with Chip Long of the DNR.
Yep.
Sportsman's Club works pretty closely with Chip and has figured out a few things over the years. That's pertaining to the fishery. The other issue with the fishery that I've noted that I've seen here is the erosion issue from the boat activity. That also is not very conducive to fish habitat, because when you have large 300 horsepower boats that belong on the bay running up and down your lake with wakeboards, the fish are literally being knocked off of their spawning beds, and they don't always come back. So anyway, that's just a little thought on the Sportsman's Club and the Lake Association are the people you want to be working with on this, and both organizations are very active.
Okay. Would you say that the I mean, obviously the boat activity has its impacts, but would you say people are generally compliant of the wake hours and speeds, or is that a problem?
You know, I think that's not really a problem. Haven't had to yell at too many people, but the issue is not non-compliance. The issue is the amount of boats and the size of boats. It's a small lake. If you look at a plot of Crooked Lake, the average lot size is probably only about 65 feet. Now, you look at other lakes and the average lot size is 100 to a 200 range. And this lake was overdeveloped back in the 30s and the 40s. And my neighbor's lot is 48 feet.
Mhm.
So you put that many cottages on a 150-acre lake, that's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a big problem because I believe there's probably more cottages with lake frontage on the lake than there on this lake than there is on Kelly or White Potato. You should
Hmm.
look at that. You should look at that once.
Yeah.
How many cottages per foot of shoreline are on Crooked Lake compared to White Potato and Kelly? I grew up
Yeah.
on Kelly.
You definitely be able to look at that very directly in the report once you guys are incorporated into that state of the lakes. You'll be able to look at that pretty clearly.
I take it the wake issue is primarily just on Crooked, because aren't Gilkey and Bass both no wake lakes?
Yeah,
That's correct.
Yeah, they're very small lakes. You wouldn't even want to try and jet ski or wakeboard or ski on those two little tiny lakes.
And
Right.
is your issue with the no wake, it's pretty much the lake residents, it's not a bunch of people coming in from outside the lakes that are doing it?
I can't say that for sure.
Okay.
There are some unfamiliar boats on the holiday weekends that are on the lake.
Sure.
And there are people that have the wakeboarding boats that pull their boat in and out of the water. I would say the high traffic with the larger boats, just the larger boats, not 100-horse fishing boat. I would say it's probably 50% people inviting people from Green Bay up to their lake, and they're going to take out their boat that's a little bit too large for our lake.
Yeah.
You
I'd like
can't-
to I'd like to say that the Natural Resource Board has been discussing the wake boats. It's been the big one. And this has been going on for about a year, and it kind of been going back and forth. They tabled it at one meeting, and I've been following it, but it's been an issue everywhere in the state, not just Crooked Lake, multiple lakes in Oconto County. I'd recommend contacting your legislator, because the more people that talk about it,
Yeah,
they're
Yeah.
trying to push it now to
There-
get some
there-
restrictions on sizes and
yeah,
stuff.
there should be a restriction on wakeboarding per acre.
Yep, that's what they're looking at.
You know, if it's a 500-acre lake, possibly that's acceptable for wakeboarding. I mean, they just create a tremendous amount of erosion, chopping of weeds, and not helping the fish habitat.
Yep, exactly. So, back with your state, you said with the sportsman club, do you guys work hand in hand with them, do stuff together, or?
Are you talking about the Lake District?
Yes,
One of the issues that came up at the Lake District meeting, or one of the topics that came up, was specifically the wakeboarding itself. And I myself has done a lot of study on this. It's not just a problem here in the state of Wisconsin, but it's a problem across the country. And I've researched different legislation that actually has been put in place in several different states. And there is a study done in Minnesota where it talks about, these wake boats and how large these waves are, and how it is basically killing the ecosystem. And the suggestion is basically based upon your acreage size, you should be so many feet away with these boats. And the study itself goes on to say, basically it should be 500 feet from shore, which would eliminate these boats here on Crooked Lake. But the bottom line is that the town of Riverview, as well as the Lake District, is talking about this. At this last meeting, we talked about it from a Lake District standpoint, and I did contact Dan Jonnet, and I sent him some information, because the Lake District at its meeting in May is going to be bringing this topic up again, but they wanted input from the Sportsman's Club. And so I did send Dan a bunch of articles in relation to it, probably no more than a week or so ago. And I gave him a heads up that at your next meeting, which I believe is April 1st, if I'm correct on that, for the Sportsman's Club, Dan will bring it up there. But if you want, get a hold of him or shoot me an email, and I can get you the same information that I gave to Dan.
And we're using our annual meeting, Memorial Day weekend, as a open forum for attendees to voice their concerns about this issue. So we're using our annual meeting as a information gathering opportunity. And we've also been advised that if you make efforts to legislate against these boats, it's to do it at the local and the township ordinance level as opposed to statewide. It would be more efficient to do it that way, we've been advised.
The state doesn't move that quick.
Yeah, the only problem is that we have a lot of issues with local municipalities trying to do that, and they do not have the enforcement or the judicial overreach of this issue. And it really is a state problem that's going to have to be addressed at the state level. And I think what I'm hearing you guys say is, Brian, I met you last year at the fall meeting for Oclawa, and we're going to have our annual meeting April 29th. And I think it'd be good if you folks would have somebody there. And I think Oclawa should bring that up. We got 31 lake associations and lake districts that are our members. And maybe we need to be more uniform and go at this, full force rather than each group trying to do it only on their own. Maybe we could have more clout working together.
That makes sense, Steve.
Excuse me, this is Dan John. I'm the president of Sportsman's Club. And our meeting is April 1st. One of the things was mentioned earlier about the wakeboards. It was mentioned that our town meeting is exactly that, the enforcement of whatever policy they put in effect. So, but we will be discussing this on April 1st. As far as the cribs, we are up to 47 currently. Unfortunately, this year we weren't able to put some in, so. Thank you.
If Dale, maybe did the Oconto County add a recreation officer to kind of their warden patrol or something like that?
Yeah, yes, they did with some of the northern townships. And I don't, is your township in that? I was just trying to look that up.
Yes, we are.
So
Okay.
that would be your enforcement. That was kind of the idea set behind that, is they could have some enforcement with that. Now, that's
Yeah.
one guy covering the whole northern part of the county, but at least it's something.
Yeah, I know a couple sheriff's deputies that do some part-time summer work on patrolling lakes. I think employed directly by the towns. Busy weekends, things like that.
I do think though, if you had, I mean, it's great if a town does it, but then obviously it hits home a lot more if you have the state rules doing it too, you got
Yep.
something to fall back on.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yep.
See, someone made a statement, the increased in short-term rental activity with other people bringing large boats. That is getting to be more and more popular, the VRBOs or whatever you want to call them. And yeah. And I don't know how you get away from that, because every lake, don't matter the size of them.
On our lake, we have a rental area for people to put pontoons on that are not on the lake. I don't have a problem with that. It's part of a business restaurant bar. It's been there for 100 years with the rental of putting pontoons in there. What I have a problem with is allowing other people to put up 8 docks on their property and rent their own personal space to other boaters. No idea where those boaters are coming from. They're probably just off-water people, just like is at the Shoreline Inn is the name of the place. Those are primarily pontoon boats that don't really havoc the lake. But when you allow people to put up 4 or 5 docks and rent space, that's a little over the top.
Actually, that's against the law. And what we think we need to do is just the DNR has to enforce it, because I know that, I think the restriction is one dock every 50 feet.
Yeah, and I was about to say, you know, NR 115 is the state shoreline zoning ordinance. Been around since the 60s, and really outlines a lot of what's, you know, within that 35 feet of the water, what kind of usage is allowed. That's a state ordinance, but enforcement is at the county level. And I saw someone mention, is the county involved here, planning and zoning? That's planning and zoning department. And, you know, frankly, you know, shoreline zoning hasn't been properly enforced in a generation around most of the state. And so a lot of that is let to go. But yeah, DNR is right up to the water line. Everything above the water line landward is county zoning, even though it might be a state ordinance that they're enforcing.
And I'll speak for our zoning department that is short-staffed. Everything that they work
Yeah.
on, 99% is complaint driven. So they're not out there walking these lakes and checking how many docks they have or what. It goes off a complaint. So if you got a hot spot, call in anonymously and complain about it and see if they'll do something. But
the trigger for a lot of counties, the trigger for that enforcement comes, you know, when people pull a building permit. You know, they get a site inspection and they have to have their you know, they have to be up to date with NR 115 to get their building permit, essentially. And I don't know how effective that is, and it may still just be a manpower issue. Yeah.
When Ontario did your lake management plan, they did a shoreline survey. Did they highlight any of this issue on their survey in the lake management plan?
That would be part of it.
Otherwise, I mean, if you don't want to deal with this directly right now, I think what we could do is, Ryan, highlight that when we do our survey, we could specifically make sure we're listing this in the plan as to where we have potential zoning issues, violations. Is that copacetic?
Yeah, I mean, sorry, I'm just looking through the plan here real quick. I don't see a map they did. I do see a kind of an overall, you know, assessment of the various land use. But yeah, you know, that's just yeah, you know, if the district wants to take this data and start making some of those moves, that's up to them. You know, and their political will, I guess.
But my point is, we could highlight that in the plan that there were. Yeah. Okay. That would give them some evidence to work with.
Yes, absolutely.
I'd also like to add that with this planning process, we do put each of the lakes that has an adopted plan on a list that we contact every spring, just to see what the major concerns are, how they're utilizing their plan, what initiatives they're looking for, that sort of thing. So we figure at least a minimum of once a year, there would be direct contact between our office and each one of the lakes. So if this issue were to come up, I would forward it myself to the planning and zoning office. I do want to say anything that is publicly viewable, you don't need to have a person's name assigned to it. The zoning enforcement officer always has a number that's assigned. And if you ever wanted to check up on it, anybody can just call and say, okay, based on this case file number, where do we stand? Has it been visually cited? Has contact been made with the owner? And they will give you that information without asking for your identity. So nobody has to. Okay, here's the map I see.
Yeah, so this is done with a methodology that's, you know, intended to be relatively duplicated. So these maps will get updated as a part of that. So, you know, you can see if there's some, you know, some quantitative change along the shoreline.
So as I'm looking at Crooked Lake on that map, is the neck area between the two main lobes of Crooked Lake, isn't that almost narrow enough that that should be a no wake zone?
No.
No? Okay,
You're,
No,
you're
it's-
talking
it's,
between the two lobes? No, it's wider than what it looks like on this map.
okay.
Yeah, you can see the scale down there. It's probably almost 600 feet across there at that narrowest point.
Oh, yeah, got it.
It should be a no-wake zone for some of our boaters.
Right. Any other comments, thoughts? I'm getting attention tonight is just to kind of let you know what's going on, connect you with the people involved. So if you hear, I mean, if you are interested in an update, you can't remember where to find stuff, feel free to contact any of us. I just wanted to look, it looks like the DNR is planning, oh wait, that's 20, yeah. By my records, DNR is planning to be out doing an updated shoreline survey on June 28th. And that'll probably be Brenda and maybe Claire there as well. I don't see a plant survey scheduled, so they might just be relying on the ones that Onterra is generating as part of their process. So if you're interested in connecting with Brenda, riding along on the boat, seeing what that process is about, or just have questions, you can contact her or any of us. We can put you in contact with her, and they're usually happy to have people along. Other than that, yeah, the study will just go on as planned, and we will reconnect. Again, you know, unless anyone wants to talk in the meantime, we'll reconnect at the winter 24-25, I guess, following the study, and kind of present the updated information and get an updated plan in the works, and off to your organizations to process however you like. So.
Well, just thanks. Thank you for the opportunity inviting us. And we're grateful for your efforts thus far.
Yeah, good. I mean, it sounds like a great area. You know, it comes with some pretty active management, I understand, but looks like a fantastic area. All right, thanks, folks. Don't be shy to reach out in the meantime. Enjoy your lake.
Very good. Thank you.
Take care.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.